Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and I'm going to talk about scene management and scene corruption and how to fix any corruption that happens in Maya. And it could be anything. It could be the fact that you can't see a manipulator when you click on an object and you want to move it, and you hit the W key, or you go in here and you click on the translate values, whether it's going to be move or rotate or scale, and you don't see the manipulator. A lot of times you can go and double click on the object and reset it. Okay, so here, these are the tools that we have for moving. Okay, so if I double click on it, you can click on reset, and that will reset everything back to default. If you still don't see it, then there's some other issues we're going to have to fix. Okay, let's talk about textures. Let's say you saved your work and some of your textures are missing, or all of them are missing. What happens here is that Maya cannot find your textures because you didn't set it up right. So we'll talk about how to set it up right. So go to File and go to Project Window, and you have to click on the New key, and you have to go ahead and type in what you want to call the folder, and then you need to tell it where you want it to go. So you'll click on the folder here, and do you want to run it off your external hard drive? Do you want to run it off your system hard drive? Or a flash drive. So you tell it where you want to do this. Now I highly recommend that you don't run it off a flash drive unless you have USB 3. And I highly recommend that some of you that are going to stay in the animation department and get a degree in animation, that you get a solid state drive. I've got a Samsung. It's a terabyte. It's kind of expensive, but it's wonderful, and you can actually render to that hard drive fast enough to be able to render to it. So usually, if you're trying to render scenes, a lot of students have told me that Maya crashes a lot because they're rendering to their flash drive. And I'm just basically telling them that you're going to have a corrupt scene. It's going to corrupt your scene because you're trying to render to a flash drive that just can't keep up. And even some hard drives have a hard time keeping up with Maya rendering. So what I would recommend that to keep you on track is to try to find yourself a solid state drive if you can afford it. I understand some of you can't, and I understand that. I get that. And so a hard drive, they're pretty cheap. A USB hard drive, at the very least, maybe get a terabyte, and I think they're running around $49 or something like that. And you can get one of those. But rendering to a flash drive is not a good idea. You can save your work to a flash drive, and that's okay. But never render to a hard drive. You want to render to your computer, to your hard drive, your internal hard drive on your computer. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right, so when you create a new project, Maya relies on all of these folders, okay, to put things in the right areas. So your objects, your scene files like you see here, goes into your scenes folder. Your images, those rendered images, go into the images folder. Anything that you render will go in here. And then textures will always go in the source images folder. So those are the three main folders that you'll be using all the time. Alright, the rest of the folders you can use, but only use those when you need to. Put your sound clips in there, and so on and so forth. But what I would highly recommend is these are the three that we're going to be using all the time. Okay, so scenes, images, and source images. So your textures have to go in the source images. So when you create, you click on accept, and you want to create your folders. Then whenever you go in here and you go to File, Save Scene As, okay, and when you save your scene, you can go ahead and save it in a sequence. You can see that I save everything in a sequence. The reason why I do that is if something were to happen between 9 and 10, or 9 and 15, or 9 and 14, and I have a corrupt file, I can go back one. Okay. Now a lot of students, they give up right away, and they go all the way back. They go back too far. And the thing is that it may not be your scene that's corrupt. It may be something in Maya that has corrupted during the time you're using your scene, during the time that you're messing with your scene. and it makes you think that maybe it's your scene. It's possible that your scene may be corrupted, but the surefire way to find out is to go into, and just close that, is to make sure, the only way to do that is to go to File, okay, and Export All, or what I usually tell students to do is go File and then just Save Scene As, and you'll save it as in, like, next to my last one, I'm going to type in TEST as a test, all caps, and then click on Save As. And what I do now to make sure it's not just Maya, that I go in here and I go to File, New Scene, okay? And what that does is it clears everything out, okay? It hasn't changed Maya, but it's cleared that scene out. So anything corrupted in that particular scene is now, I'm going to go ahead and pull it in and see if it works now. So I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to go to Import. Okay, Scene Import. So I'm going to import. I'm going to find that test. I'm going to go ahead and import it in. Okay. Alright. And so when I imported it in, okay, you can see some of the textures are gone. Okay. But all I have to do is hit the 6 key. See, what I did was I created a brand new scene, and then I imported my objects into the scene, okay? And now I can go in here, and I've got some animation in here. But you can see that, I can go and turn that off a minute. Dynamics, there we go. And you can see my scenes all set and ready to go, and I don't have any more issues with it. Let's say I select it and hit the W key. Now it's working okay. So that's the first thing I would do, is to double check that, is make sure the scene is not corrupted, not your file, but your scene. If your file is corrupted, you can't use it, okay? And the only way to know that is that if you have something wrong with your scene, you want to go to File, okay? You want to go Save Scene As and save it like as a test. And then you want to go to File, New Scene, and then you want to go to File, Import. You want to import your scene into this new scene, okay? Your old scene into the new scene, and then check it out. So it could be rendering. It could be that you're not rendering properly. Arnold keeps getting stuck or freezes. Your animation isn't working properly. Your manipulators aren't being, aren't shown. Aren't being seen correctly. Your objects, something's not working. Like if you do an extrude and it doesn't extrude, it could be the fact that the scene in Maya is corrupted, not your file scene. Okay, so to fix that, just do what I just did, which is you want to save your scene as a test, and then go to File, New, and then File, Import, and import your scene, and then hit the 6 key because it won't show your textures right away. Okay. So it'll come in like this. You just hit that. You have to hit the 6 key. Okay. All right. That's the first thing you can do. Okay, which is great, and that usually fixes a lot of stuff. Okay. The second thing is you can double click on any one of your translates or your tool settings, and I didn't want to do that, and reset it. So let's say something's wrong, like your rotate, okay, isn't rotating properly, or it's in a different axis that you don't want. You can double click on the rotate tool. Just double click on this guy right over here, the icon. When you do that, you can go into reset, or you can select a orbit that you want to use. Say if you'd use component or gimbal or custom, or world. Okay, so if something's off kilter, doesn't look correct, you can reset it. Okay, and that'll get it back to normal again. And that's with your tools. You can do that with any of the tools here. You can reset them. Okay, that's one of the that's the second thing I would probably do if you're missing a manipulator, which is this arrow. Okay, that's your manipulator. Okay, so the next thing, if things are still kind of batty, you're not sure what's going on, you can set your preferences, reset them. So go down where this little guy is running away from a gear, this icon down here at the lower right hand corner, and click on that. And you can go to Preferences and go Edit, Restore Default Settings. Okay. Now you notice something jumped around in here. Okay. Well, that's great because then you know it restored them. All right. So it's restoring my settings. Okay. Now, if you had prior settings that you need to change back, let's say my time slider, play every frame, well, that's not going to work for me. It is for simulation, but I need to turn this back to 24 frames so I can see it in real time. So I can see my animation in real time. So now I can play it and see my animation in real time. Now the question now is, did it fix it? Okay, so that's number 3. Okay, so the first one is file management. Make sure that your textures are in the source images folder, and your scene, this guy right here, this whole entire is considered a scene, that's in your scenes folder. And then your renders are in your images folder. Okay, that's the first thing. So good file management. Make sure that you don't put your textures somewhere else. Okay, and then the second thing I talked about was the translate. If those go away, you can reset your tools here, tool settings. Okay. Now, what if you can't get your view panels to look right or work right? A lot of times all you have to do is click on this or one of these icons, and it gets you back where you need to be. Again, you're setting your preferences here. By resetting your preferences, we'll restore all this too as well. Okay? Right? What's the fourth thing you can do? Well, your workspace. Okay? Fourth thing you can try is you can go to your workspace, and if you're in Maya Classic, okay, you can go to something like Maya Standard, okay, and then go back to Maya Classic, and then hold the arrow key down, go all the way down to Reset Current Workspace. Okay, now what that does is it resets everything back up as far as the workspace goes. So that will help with your workspace. Okay, you still have your 4 planes, but let's say if you get mixed up, things go bad, and you can't get it to work here with the icons by clicking on them, then you can go back and try to reset it. Okay, it won't show up right away. You have to go to Modeling Standard, and then back to Maya Classic, and then you can go down to Reset Current Workspace, and then that really helps. Okay. All right, now nothing works. Okay, so you've done everything, you exhausted everything. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is a little more drastic. So you have to turn Maya off. Basically, just close it up. I'm going to go to my Documents folder here. All right, and then what you want to do now is you want to go into Maya. Okay, what we're going to do now is we try to reset the preferences. Now we're at a point where we have to delete the preferences. Okay, it sounds scarier than it is. It's not going to ruin Maya or cause any problems. Make sure Maya is closed, like you saw me close it. Close Maya. Make sure it's not running. It's good not to have anything running in the background. So we don't want to go to projects. We want to go to a folder called 2020. You can see that I got in my PC, my local disk C, users, your name, documents, Maya, and then you double click on the version you're using. You can see all the versions I've had so far on this computer anyway. And so I'm going to click on 2020. Okay, and then here's the issue. Okay, so I'm going to basically get rid of this whole folder, but I'm going to show you what's in there. So this is everything. When you're opening a scene, Maya documents everything. Every click that you create on your keyboard, every click of your mouse has been recorded in here. Okay? So anything you change goes into a script and then saved. And then if you have corruption in the system, that will save your corruption as well. So what we want to do is we want to create a new version of Maya, like you open it up for the first time. So to do that, you have to delete the preferences. So I'm going to go in here and right click over Prefs, and I'm going to go to delete. Okay, it's not going to hurt anything. Okay. Right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to empty your trash. Okay, otherwise it's just going to pull your preferences right out of the trash. Okay, and it's going to use it again, and then you're just going to kind of go around in circles. So you have to delete your trash. Okay, so once you do that, then you can reopen Maya, and it's going to ask you, okay, so this version does not have preferences yet. Create default preferences. Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, that's good. Alright, then there you are. Now Maya's going to come open. It's going to take a while to generate all the plugins that I've actually got on in there. I think I've got every plugin imaginable, and so it's going to take a while for mine to come up. So just be patient. It's a good idea not to click right away. Just let it go through the cycle of opening up. Okay, and I'm not sure if you can move this around that you're good to go, so I'm going to close that. So usually don't see that opening box, so you know you're good. So you know that it's a brand, it's basically brand spanking new. The interface is perfect. And what I would suggest, if you're having rendering problems with Arnold, then this is what I do. I go into Arnold just to double check, and I do a sky dome, okay, and then I just create a sphere, okay, and I add assign new material. And I go into Arnold Shader, AI Standard Surface, okay, and go into my AI Standard Surface and go to Presets, and I'm going to do let's just say ceramic, car paint, metallic. Okay, let's do a replacement. Okay, all right, so and there it is. I'm just going to zoom in. And I'm going to do a quick render. Now I'm going to go into render settings just really quick. I don't want to waste too much of your time here. But this is how you can test your rendering real quick. Just start with HD 540 at the lowest settings in Arnold and just click on render. It's fairly fast. You can test your Arnold if Arnold's working properly. And mine's working fantastic because I don't see blue squares. Now if you see blue squares, that's because you have a texture base. Now I don't have any textures. I'm just using a material. So I'm not too worried about having these little blue squares. But if you have blue squares, it's probably because Arnold is having a problem with one of your textures that you have. And it will create a TX file that you need to delete in your source images folder. So whenever you do a render, it will take all your files, your bitmap files, and it will change them to TX files. And when it does that, sometimes it has issues with that. So what you have to do is find all the .tx files. Make sure you do not get rid of your maps, okay, your PNG files. So if you have issues with that, you just get rid of the TX files, and then you go back into Maya, restart it, and maybe delete the preference like you just saw me do, and then try it again. And I just start with a new scene, just start with a ball and see if it'll work. And you know it's working. So what you want to do now is, now I want to take my scene, go to File, and I'm going to go to Import. Okay, I'm going to import. And it doesn't remember where I was. So let me go back and set my preferences. You might have to do this because when you delete preferences, it won't know where to go. So you have to go to File, Set Project. And then you can go back in here and find your project. Mine's in Documents and under Maya, Projects, and let's do Simulation. Okay, and let's see if I can find my scene again. So import. Okay, there it is. It's back where I was. You can see I got that test here. I'm going to import it into my new scene, you see. So now I'm importing my test into a new preferences, and all I have to do is hit the 6 key. Now I'm getting kind of a warning cached back. I get that all the time. And if you ever want to know what it's saying there, if you get a yellow thing, you can go back in, you can go into the script editor, and this is this guy below the guy running away. It's the script editor, right, the icon right below it, and click on it, and you can go in here and look at what the script is saying. Now yellow means it's a warning. It's not red is bad. Yellow is a warning, so I'm just going to ignore it. So a lot of times I just ignore the yellow warnings. I read them and kind of look at what's happening in case I get myself in trouble. but I don't see any issues right here with that. So there's my scene now. Okay, so that's about the fastest way, and again, I've drawn it out, but you can watch the video anytime you want to if you have any issues. And if there's something that all of this that I've talked about doesn't work, then please send me your MB file, and I'm happy to look at it. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and hope this was helpful to a lot of you guys that are having troubles with modeling, texturing, rendering, lighting. So anything acts goofy, the lights don't work the way you think or they should, or if you watch my video and your lighting looks way off, and you've watched the video several times and you can't get your lighting to look right, or your renders have those blue squares in it, or your textures aren't showing, watch this video, do everything I ask you to do in the video, and then basically get a hold of me, email me, and I will look at your file and see if I can get it to work and diagnose it for you. But send me the MB file and some screenshots of what's happening. I'm happy to help you. I'm here to help. And I wish you guys the best, and have fun and enjoy classes, and I'll see you soon.